you know what? I'm really not sure if it's really worth it for you to stop or invest time watching this episode, simply because this is just me sharing my train of thoughts, right, or my thought process, and something that is very dear to me in the area of self-improvement, right? And most of you will notice that every time you have a conversation with someone, if there's a critical question that you always ask first, especially if you are interested in that conversation, what comes to mind is you asking, give me context. What is the context? Can you give me the rationale for us having this conversation, or what is your point of departure as you are having this conversation with me, so that I can understand better, right? We always seek for context in every conversation. So I want to bring that in this discussion today. So self-improvement is something that a lot of us take seriously, right? And we have hopped onto this self-improvement journey at different times in our lives, right? And it's different for all of for it's different, sorry, for everyone, how we approach self-improvement, right? Or the the reason to always become better today or tomorrow. It's something that most of human beings are interested in, right? And I'm not exempted. I'm also one of those people who has really a desire to get better every day, right? So the other day I was asking myself, then what is the context behind why am I always interested in improving myself or improving my life? That is, right? So I had to deep dive. I like deep. And I came to the realization that I'm interested in improving myself simply because I have lived a life which I would say I have inherited from my parents. I've inherited this life, and is a life that I've lived at least for 30 plus years. And I would want to say that this life that I lived was lived mainly on autopilot and mostly on reactive mode, and just doing and doing and doing. And it lacked design, it lacked my art, to say that, to unpack this, what I'm saying is that it lacked me being at the center and crafting my script. Rather, it's a life which I lived in a script which I did not script, if that makes sense. So now, for me to get out of that life which I have inherited and to get at a life which I am calling an extraordinary life, meaning a life which is intentionally curated by me as an adult, by me as someone who wants to do better, right? I'm saying to do better because for those that have watched a couple of episodes on this channel, you may remember me sharing how I come from hardship, poverty to be specific. So I want to move or transition to a life which I am curating myself intentionally. How does that look like? I don't know, but I've decided that now that I have a strong business case, I have a strong justification, or now that I have context as to why I need to improve myself daily, or the reason why I am driven to improve myself daily, now that it is clear to me that I am keen, or I am on the quest to improve myself, simply because I am now moving into a phase which I am intentionally designing, I think I would now need to rely on certain techniques and tools to bring onto this new life that I am orchestrating, or I am curating. So now self-improvement journey or this self-improvement journey that I'm on, or I'll continue being on, it's not one that is happening haphazardly, in a sense that I'm doing life based either what I am seeing, or I am doing life based on certain issues that needs to be resolved by me, and as a result I need to make sure that I fill those gaps. But I'm now hoping, or I'm now in a phase where there's more intention to it. And of course, self-improvement is just one of the techniques that I will bring into my life. Yo, this is the reason why I felt like I don't even think it's necessary for you to listen to this, because it might just sound over complicated, but this is just me thinking through my thoughts, so that also my subconscious mind gets to register it and know that whatever we are doing moving on, there should be intention of why we are either looking for more or doing more or being where we are. There should always be a reason. And that reason is the reason why I am planting it into my subconscious mind, so that it can just remember. Another rumble. But you know what? That is where I am at. And it's not every time where we process things clearly. Sometimes we can, rumble and think in circles. But I think for me, at least, the context is that it's there, right? There's a reason why I feel like I need to shift. Okay, so now back to the shift. How will this shift look like? So I am a project management professional, right? And this is what we've learned in project management. With every project, you have to choose the approach that you want to implement or to utilize as you are implementing this project. So you ought to choose a methodology for this respective project that you are implementing. And methodologies, you could either choose what we call waterfall, where you have, for instance, like this is the approach that a lot of construction projects follow, right? Where you have a clear plan that is planned from A to Z. For us to build this house, we need to make sure that we have designed the plan in place. And we're going to start with the foundation. After we've started with the foundation, we're gonna build on the sides, and then followed by plumbing, until you put on the roof. The phases, they are determined from the planning stage, and the project is implemented using that plan. That is what we call the waterfall approach. This is what we call the agile, right, approach. And the agile approach is one that you get to test, right? You are sort of prototyping the project, the different phases. And with every phase, you learn from it, you improve and you improve until you get to that desired product that you want to implement as a result of this project. And this is what we have seen a lot of companies with all the vehicles that we are seeing. All these vehicles, at some point, they were prototyped. A product doesn't just, you don't just get to plan it and you follow through that plan. There are phase gates to it. You're sort of like in a laboratory. So that's one of the approach, right? And there's more approaches to it. So now back to me. I also want them to unpack on that, or I want to ensure that as I am living this life, there is an approach to it. I am living in a methodology, so that if I am doing things today or doing things tomorrow, there is some coherence, there is some rationale as to why I am showing up the way how I'm showing up, or as to why I'm doing certain things the way how I am doing it. So I needed to understand, what is my approach to life? Now that I am saying I want to shift from a life which now I'm going to introduce you to, what I'm calling a life which I am designing myself. So if I am designing this life, then the approach that I have selected, oh my word, Whew, the approach that I have selected is one that I don't even know if this is something that exists, but it's an approach of scientific mode or scientist mode. Yes, that's the right word. Scientist mode, where I want to make sure that my life is lived based on experiments. It's not going to be lived based on a static plan, which is a waterfall, and I'm going to follow that plan because I believe I am fluid. And if I am fluid, I am not going to put myself in a framework where there's no flexibility, where there is no trial and error. So I'm moving to an approach which I call more experiments so that I can experience more out of life. So that my life is not just happening haphazardly, but I am noticing that with everything that I am doing will be driven by experiment framework of thinking. Let me give you an example. Yeah, just for context. For me, the approach which I'm willing to move throughout the year, because I feel like if I apply it and I continue remaining in this flow, there is no way that I will not reach to the extraordinary life which I want for myself. Because for the longest, I've lived in scarcity and I've lived in a life which I inherited and I don't want it anymore. I'm now an adult. I'm at a stage where I need to design my own life. But what matters is me knowing the approach that I am willing to live by. Another experiment which we tested as a family. You know, we live in Windhoek, right? And we tried gardening, backyard gardening. We set up our garden. We set it up in towards end of January, and as we speak, we harvested today. It's something small, but the fact that we were willing to test it, that is evidence now that we harvested. Yeah, it's evidence that it's doable, right? So now the conversation is moving from doing it at a small scale and trying to go a little bit bigger. But the fact that we are in a city and we are confined, this evidence or these lessons that we learned, it's lessons that we can apply even in our rural home. You understand? So that is the experimental approach that I want to live by. You know, at the end of the day, I feel like once you decide the approach for your life, it sort of make life easier for you because with every move, there is an intention behind it and there is a rationale as to why you are doing it. You understand? The fact that I know that I want to experiment more with my life, then I'll understand why I don't need to make certain decisions that will be barriers to my life, which I want to experiment. So that is just something that crossed my mind, and I thought I should just record it so that I also say it out loud and it brings more clarity and helps me also unpack it and digest it for myself. It's not necessarily for YouTube views, but if you are watching, if you watched until this minute, I hope you learn one or two things because at the end of the day, we live our life in a vacuum of information and it's up to us to use this information. How we're going to use it, I don't know. It's up to you basically. Just the same way as I watched Patricia Bright teach us about investing and I made that action immediately. And there's more experiments that I'll be looking forward to try out, in various areas of my life, be it my in my marriage, be it at work, be it in me as a mom, me being as a girl who is just on a quest to get more out of life. I want to have more experiments, you know and the reason why also why I am approaching life using an experiment approach is the fact that I know that life is finite. Life has a start date and an end date. We are like living projects, basically. We have a start and an end date. And you want to make sure that during this period when you've been alive, you've utilized your time to your best ability, and you've done things that will bring joy to your life and that will make your life amazing. And I think for one to make sure that they've lived that amazing life, it's important to have structure around your life. And sometimes structure starts with identifying the methodology that you want to live your life by. So let me know in the comment section what is the approach that you're going to continue or to start, if you have not started yet, to start living your life by. And let's have a discussion, let's say by end year, and see how things have been for us. For me, I'll be just chipping in and sharing in terms of the feedback and the evidence that I've been getting for the various experiments that I'll be running. So, yeah, it's been nice chatting with you. It's been nice also for me, I think, unpacking my thoughts and speaking them out loud. Sometimes having these conversations, it's not really easy because you also just don't want to bombard people with your so-called, I call them delusions, yeah, because these are just for me things I think about. And so having a platform like YouTube where I can just speak my mind, share what is on my mind, I think it's therapeutic. So yeah, I'll be coming back with the next experiment, hopefully. Definitely. Not hopefully, but yeah, thank you, and I'll see you in the next episode. This is Daring to Differ. Let me ask you to like and subscribe. But as I said, it's not really for the likes. We're not doing it for the likes. We're not doing it for the views, but I'm doing it for myself, and I am just bringing you guys on the journey. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.